Travis and welcome to tonight's edition of the Regional News. We start off with some COVID-19 reports where as of Tuesday afternoon, the Trinidad and Tobago's health ministry reported the following. Number of samples submitted to the Caribbean Public Health Agency CARPHA and the UB site for testing for COVID-19 are 16,453. Number of samples which have tested positive at public and private facilities in Trinidad and Tobago amounts to 629. Total number of deaths are 12, while 140 persons were discharged. The island currently has 477 active cases. Meanwhile, a 32-year-old woman who arrived in St. Lucia from the United States has become the island's latest confirmed case of COVID-19. The St. Lucian Ministry of Health said that the woman had been placed in government quarantine and is stable and will be transferred to the respiratory hospital for care. And I quote, "This brings the total number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 to date to 26. A total of 4,768 tests have been conducted to date. As we manage new cases and investigate possible contacts, the public is advised to take personal responsibilities to protect themselves and family. We advise against mass crowd gatherings. We advise a responsible behavior without necessary panic," end of quote, the ministry said. In Haiti, meanwhile, the authorities said that 24 new cases had been recorded over the past day, bringing the total to 7,921 cases since the first case was recorded on March 19. They said while the death toll remains at 196, the number of active cases is 2,490. And now for some news in Jamaica. Prime Minister and Jamaica Labour Party leader Andrew Holness is promising that once a safe and tested COVID-19 vaccine becomes available, a government he leads will provide it free to all Jamaicans. Holness made the promise in a post on Twitter on Wednesday as he continued to hammer a point he raised previously that his administration would be better at leading Jamaica through the COVID-19 crisis after the September 3 general election. And I quote, "Unlike others, we know what to do to manage the coronavirus," end of quote, Holness said in the tweet. Addressing journalists after he was nominated to contest the St. Andrew West Central seat on Tuesday, Holness argued that his administration has done a fair job in managing the pandemic so far and was better suited to lead Jamaica through a period of living with COVID-19. He charged that the People's National Party's PNP's performance over the years shows that it would have struggled to deal with the pandemic. Researchers around the world are racing to develop a vaccine against the pandemic, with more than 170 candidate vaccines now being tracked by the World Health Organization. Vaccines normally require years of testing and additional time to produce at scale, but scientists are hoping to develop a coronavirus vaccine within the next 12 to 18 months. Just over 22 million COVID-19 cases have been recorded worldwide, with 777,000 deaths and 40 million persons recovering. On Tuesday, Jamaica recorded 17 new COVID cases to move to 1,146 since the first case was reported in the island in March. 14 people have died from complications relating to the virus, while the number of those who have recovered so far in Jamaica stands at 770. And finally, the director of the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, Dr. Carissa F. Etienne, is urging Caribbean countries to expand and invest in mental health services to cope with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I quote, "The COVID-19 pandemic has caused a mental health crisis in our region at a scale we've never seen before," end of quote, the Dominican-born Dr. Etienne said, adding, "It is a perfect storm in every country as we see growing needs to address resources to address them." And I quote, "It is urgent that mental health support is considered a critical component of the pandemic response. Health and domestic violence services are essential services, and we must place emphasis on addressing the gaps that have been laid bare by the pandemic. Dr. Etienne noted that coronavirus cases in Americas have reached almost 11.5 million and over 400,000 persons have died. And I quote, "The Americas have approximately 13% of the world's population, but 64% of officially reported global deaths," end of quote, she said, stating that the pandemic is having a serious impact on health workers who are working longer hours than ever before and risking their own lives as hospitals struggle to maintain sufficient personal protective equipment. Dr. Etienne said initial research indicates that as much as a third of patients recovering from COVID-19 can have enduring changes in their mood and suffer from anxiety or depression. In addition, Dr. Etienne said the region also has the second highest level of alcohol consumption in the world, stating that emergencies can worsen these conditions. And that is it for our region news this evening, and I continue to urge our viewers to wear those masks, use those hand sanitizers, and continue practicing social distancing. Back to you, Travis.